Their invisible world, revealing Jamie and Amelia's private place. In a world that asks to be fed, photographs, updates, confessions, proof, there are still people who build their lives in a quieter language. Jamie and Amelia have always seemed to speak it fluently. They do not announce happiness with fireworks. They do not argue in public. They do not turn ordinary moments into content. Instead, they have created something rare, an invisible world, a private place where love is not performed, but lived. It isn't a single location, not in the literal sense. It's a way of being. A choice made again and again, to protect the ordinary, to honor what's real, to keep the softest parts of life away from the sharp edges of attention. Their sanctuary is stitched together by small things. Morning light on a kitchen counter. A coat hung by the door. A child's drawing pinned to a wall. Details no camera would linger on long enough to understand. And perhaps that's exactly the point. The door that closes gently. The private place begins at the threshold. When Jamie steps inside, he is not the face on posters or the name in credits. The public version dissolves, not with drama, but with relief. He puts down his keys as if setting down a heavy bag. He rolls his shoulders like someone returning to gravity. The house does not ask him to be anyone except himself. Amelia understands this transition without needing to discuss it. She doesn't greet him with questions about interviews or schedules. She doesn't demand a recounting of a day built for other people. Instead, she reads the smallest signals, the way his footsteps sound, the way he exhales after closing the door, the length of silence before he speaks. Her welcome is less about words and more about a feeling. You're safe here. Sometimes the first thing Jamie does is find his children. It doesn't matter if he's tired. It doesn't matter if his mind is still half on a set or a script. He goes to where the noise is, where life is moving without him. He joins in like someone grateful to be included. Other times, he finds Amelia first. Not because he needs reassurance, but because she is the center of the home in the way a lamp is the center of a room. Not because everything revolves around it, but because it's what makes the space feel warm. Their greeting might be no more than a touch to the shoulder, a brief kiss, a look that says, "I'm here." And that is enough. A sanctuary built from routine. People often imagine privacy as secrecy, as if it requires fences and locked gates. But in Jamie and Amelia's world, privacy is built from routine. It's built from doing the same simple things so consistently that they become a kind of protective spell. Morning begins early, not with glamour, but with necessity. There are lunches to pack, uniforms to find, hair to brush, permission slips to sign. There is the familiar chaos of a family in motion. A sock missing its twin, a small argument over whose turn it is to pour cereal, someone searching for a favorite book with the urgency of a crisis. In this rush, their private place reveals itself, not as perfection, but as presence. Jamie might hover near the kitchen doorway, pretending to be less invested than he is, but watching everything with quiet attention. Amelia moves with calm efficiency, her hands steady, her voice soft but firm. They swap tasks without negotiation. He finds the missing shoe, she ties the ribbon, he refills the water bottle, she checks the schedule. It is teamwork so practiced it appears effortless, but it isn't effortless. It is love expressed as coordination. Sometimes, amid the noise, their eyes meet. Not long enough to interrupt what's happening, but long enough to confirm it. We're doing this together. The children might not notice, but the house does. The walls hold these moments the way wood holds warmth. The quiet intimacy of being understood. The strongest kind of intimacy isn't always physical. Often it's the intimacy of being understood without explanation. There are evenings when Jamie is worn down by the constant demand of being on, pleasant, available, coherent. The public world is a bright room with no corners to rest in. Even when he smiles, even when he does it well, it costs something. Amelia knows the cost. She doesn't try to fill his silence with conversation. She doesn't ask him to entertain her with stories. She lets him take off his day slowly. They might sit on a sofa while the children are finally asleep, the house settling into its nighttime hush. A single lamp throws soft light across the room. The rest is shadow. Jamie leans back, and Amelia folds her legs beneath her, a mug warming her hands. Sometimes they talk, but sometimes they don't. In those quiet stretches, the private place becomes almost sacred, two people sharing space without pressure to prove anything. Amelia might reach out and rest her hand on his knee. Not a dramatic gesture, just a small anchor. Jamie might respond by covering her hand with his, absent-minded and sure. It is the kind of touch that says, I choose you, not once, but repeatedly, in 1,000 small ways. Love as maintenance, not performance. If you were looking for cinematic romance, you might miss it in their home. There are no scripted speeches, no sweeping music cues. Their love is not a performance, it is maintenance. It's in the way Amelia notices the small things before they become big things. A tiredness in Jamie's eyes. A tension in his shoulders. A silence that lasts a beat longer than usual. She doesn't interrogate him, she makes space. She creates softness around him the way you might soften a harsh light. Jamie returns the devotion differently. He is attentive to Amelia's invisible labor, the mental load, the constant tracking of details that keeps a home running. He doesn't always say it aloud, but he shows it in action. Stepping in without being asked, taking over bedtime when she's drained, making tea when she's been quiet too long, asking the right question at the right time. There is a tenderness in noticing someone's needs before they speak them. Their private place is full of these unspoken acts. A blanket placed carefully over sleeping children. A bowl of fruit refreshed without comment. A small note left on the counter. A door closed gently to keep noise from someone resting. This is love translated into environment. The family life that doesn't need witnesses. They protect their children not because they have something to hide, but because childhood deserves privacy. Their family life is not a storyline for strangers. It is a living thing. In their sanctuary, the children are allowed to be messy, loud, silly, emotional. They are allowed to have bad days without fear of being photographed on them. They are allowed to grow without an audience. Sometimes, the private place is simply the floor of the living room where toys scatter like confetti. Jamie sits cross-legged with a child's book open in his hands. Amelia leans against the doorway, smiling at something small, perhaps a mispronounced word, perhaps the seriousness with which a child insists on a made-up rule. There is a particular kind of joy in these moments, not the joy of achievement, but the joy of belonging. When the children ask for stories, Jamie invents them. His voice changes, characters appear, a plot is born and abandoned and reborn. Amelia listens with her head tilted, amused by the creativity that comes alive when he is not working, when he is simply being a father. If someone could observe them unseen, they might expect glamour. Instead, they would find something far more moving, the ordinary becoming profound. The private place has weather. Even the most loving homes have storms. There are days when patience is thin, when schedules collide, when exhaustion makes everything feel sharper. There are moments when Jamie's work pulls him away at the wrong time, or when Amelia's own creative projects demand focus and silence and time. Things that family life does not always offer generously. In those moments, the private place is tested. They don't respond with drama. They respond with repair. An argument, if it happens, doesn't become a battlefield. It becomes a problem to solve. Voices may rise, but they do not harden. Amelia is the kind of person who speaks carefully even when upset. Jamie is the kind of person who, once he cools, returns with humility rather than pride. They have learned, over time, that conflict is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of two lives rubbing against each other in close quarters. What matters is what comes after. And what comes after, in their home, is often simple: an apology without justification, a hand offered, a joke used as a bridge back to warmth. They do not keep score. They do not punish each other with silence. Their private place stays safe because they work to keep it that way. A space for two people, not just parents. One of the quiet miracles in long-term love is remembering that you are not only parents, not only managers of a household, not only logistical partners. You are also two people who once looked at each other and chose something. Jamie and Amelia protect that part of their relationship like a hidden room in the house. Sometimes it's a walk taken without phones. Sometimes it's a late-night conversation when they should be sleeping. Sometimes it's sharing music, Amelia playing something she's working on, Jamie listening in a way that shows he's not just hearing it, but absorbing it. There are evenings when they sit at the kitchen table, the house dark except for the light above them, and they talk like they did before children, about ideas, about what they've been reading, about a memory that surfaced for no reason, about the strange texture of time. They laugh quietly so they don't wake anyone. And in those moments, their private place is not about the family. It's about the two of them. Amelia might reach across the table and brush crumbs from Jamie's sleeve like it's the most natural thing in the world. Jamie might look at her with a kind of calm admiration, the sort that doesn't need to be declared because it has been proven over years. When work knocks at the door. Fame has a way of trying to enter every room. It knocks quietly at first, an email, a request, a public obligation disguised as opportunity. Then it knocks louder, travel, interviews, expectations, gossip that spills into headlines. Jamie and Amelia do not pretend these pressures don't exist. They simply refuse to let them take over. When Jamie has to leave for work, the house adjusts like a ship balancing in waves. Amelia becomes the steady hand on the wheel. But Jamie doesn't disappear completely. He stays connected in ways that feel real, not performative. A call at bedtime, a message during school pickup, a silly voice note meant to make the children laugh. And when Jamie returns, he returns fully. Not half present, not still living in another city mentally. He recalibrates back into the family rhythm because he wants to, because it is where he belongs. Amelia, too, has her own work, her own creative life. Jamie treats it with respect. He doesn't minimize it. He doesn't treat it as secondary. He makes room for it, as she makes room for his. This is another corner of their private place. A partnership where both people are seen. The invisible language of devotion. Devotion is often imagined as sacrifice, as dramatic acts of loyalty. But in Jamie and Amelia's private place, devotion is an invisible language. It's Amelia keeping the house calm when Jamie is overwhelmed, without turning his overwhelm into a crisis. It's Jamie noticing when Amelia has been carrying too much and quietly taking a burden from her hands. It's both of them understanding that love is not a feeling you fall into and then keep forever. Love is something you build, renovate, protect. It needs maintenance. It needs attention. It needs tenderness. There are countless invisible gestures that never leave their home. Jamie making breakfast on a day Amelia looks especially tired. Amelia leaving the hallway light on when Jamie comes home late. Jamie folding laundry without being asked because he sees it piling up. Amelia making space for Jamie's silence without assuming it means distance. Jamie ensuring that family time remains non-negotiable, even when work is demanding. Amelia offering humor like a soft blanket when tension rises. These are not the kinds of things that trend, but they are the kinds of things that last. The home as a living memory. Over time, homes collect stories. A scratch on the table from an art project that got too enthusiastic. A dent in the wall from a toy thrown in excitement. A faded mark on the kitchen floor from a spilled drink that was wiped up in a hurry. These imperfections become evidence of life lived. In their private place, Jamie and Amelia don't rush to erase every sign of mess. They accept that beauty is not the absence of chaos, but the presence of love within it. Sometimes, Amelia looks around and sees not a house but a timeline, the years stacking gently on top of each other. Jamie sees it too, though he might not say it. He feels it in the way the children's voices change over time, in the way routines shift, in how the home itself seems to breathe differently each year. It makes him grateful. It makes him careful. The private place is a choice. The world outside will always want more. More access. More explanation. More proof. But Jamie and Amelia understand something many people learn too late. Not every part of life is meant to be shared. Some parts are meant to be held. Their invisible world is not a refusal of the public. It is a devotion to what matters most. It is an act of love, not only toward each other, but toward their children and toward themselves. They are not hiding happiness. They are protecting it. And perhaps that is why their story feels so enduring, not because it is dramatic, but because it is deliberate. Not because it is loud, but because it is real in the only way that truly counts, in the quiet, unseen moments where love is not announced, but practiced. In the end, their private place is made of ordinary things. A shared cup of tea, a child's sleepy hug, a hand held in silence, a door closed gently against the world. And inside that invisible world, the truest version of their love story continues, uninterrupted, unfilmed, and deeply alive.